Let's take a look right now at our poll question. Who do you want to win in the Sweet 16? Who do you want in the Sweet 16, I should say? Who do you want Tennessee to play in the Sweet 16? Most of you who've gone online have already clicked in Illinois. Tennessee beat them by 2. Kentucky, Tennessee lost to them twice this year. So I'll be interested to see. It's 60-40 right now. I'll be interested to see if Tennessee fans are like, they can't beat us a third time. Bring them on. Or if it's like, we're good. We're good. Give us Illinois. So what you do is you take your smartphone, point it right at that QR code just below the Hearthside Bank logo, and play along with us. We always like seeing what you think. It surprises me often. And
I have a feeling how this one's going to play out, John.
Well, if you don't want to do it via the smartphone QR code, you can also go to our website, sportsource.tv/polls. Okay. The SEC got 14 teams into the NCAA tournament. The second round is halfway over, and already 7 of those teams are out. So you've lost half of them in the first round and a half. The SEC is 11-7 overall. The Big Ten, however, 10-2. Didn't get as many bids, but they are 10-2, and they were a perfect 8-0, the best first round in the history of the tournament. Let me go ahead and just put this on the screen for you, give you an idea of what we're talking about. Of the 24 teams still remaining this morning, 21 are from the SEC, Big Ten, and Big 12. We've talked about the fact that the big guys are trying to take over,
right,
and they're trying to push out the little guys. Well, mission accomplished. They've done it. You've seeded. You've added enough of those teams to where the SEC can lose 7 teams in the first and second round and still have 7 teams remaining. So you don't have to worry anymore about these pesky teams that are, interesting. And in fact, the smallest guys you have left really aren't that small. You're talking Colorado State, New Mexico, and UConn. Those are the only non-Power 4 conferences in there. There are no Cinderellas this year. And I'm sorry if you say that it's like last year, you've pointed this out, Will. NC State was supposed to be considered a Cinderella. It's not a Cinderella. I think it's interesting there's no ACC teams in this. Boy, you go back 20 years, who would have ever thought that? But 7 SEC teams, 6 Big Ten teams, 6 Big 12 teams, and then the other 3 teams. So my question, Chuck, did the SEC deserve the 14 bids it got?
Absolutely not. To me, there was no way Georgia should have gotten in, and I think they showed that. As soundly as they got beaten, Oklahoma, I was kind of on the fence on, but I don't really think Oklahoma deserved a bid. So I don't think
Texas was out in the first 4.
I mean, where you got that was that 89% winning percentage against non-conference play. That's what the SEC kept hammering and hammering and hammering away. But I think you had some, and I guess there's a lot of flawed basketball teams. We've talked about this before, right? But you've got some SEC teams that just can't shoot the ball. And, and I've looked at the Big Ten, and look, watch out for Michigan State. And Michigan's got I think the Big Ten has passed the SEC overall. I still think the top 4 or 5 in the SEC are better.
Okay. Josh, did the SEC deserve its 14 bids?
Well, every
Can you
team
say that yet?
every team that got in had a reason for them to be in there. But if Texas were left out, it would have been very easy to explain why. Because they played their way out through the final 6-7 weeks of the regular season, but they're in the SEC. There was a lot of campaigning on behalf of Texas, and that helped Texas get in. They had talent. They just weren't that good of a team. This is also a reason not to expand the tournament because these teams would be comfortably in, but that's a separate conversation. So
all you're going to see are more of these
teams.
Yeah, so my answer would be no. I think the SEC got too many teams in, and some others deserved more love to try to expand things out. I don't think the basketball's been very good, and I think we're watching teams with talent. They don't play very good basketball, and I think some of that's been at the bottom of the SEC.
Yeah, I would say absolutely not even close. No, it was stupid at the time, but they did it to keep Greg Sankey from destroying college athletics. He said, I want 14. You got 14. You gave it to him. You got to placate him, or otherwise we're going to 96 teams and no one's going to watch the NCAA tournament, and everybody else knows that. So, but he has the large enough gun that he can sit on the table and say, you're going to give me what I want, or I'm going to come hold this all hostage. He did it for the college football playoff. He went to 12 teams with the byes. That's what Greg Sankey wanted. Now we realize that doesn't work, and I get it. Like, he's trying to look out for the conference. And he did a good job looking out for the conference. But this is by a country mile the worst tournament I have ever seen so far through the first 3 days.
It's not very interesting.
No, it's just boring. And part of it is we don't have mid-majors that are there. Even higher level mid-majors like A10 teams, Missouri Valley Conference teams, MAC teams, AAC teams. You don't ever see them only get one in, and instead we get Georgia, who won a third of their conference games, Oklahoma, who won a third of their conference games. They're not a game under 500 in conference. They
They're
won
six
one-third.
games, yeah.
Yes, they
Yeah.
won a
6 games
third of their
under.
conference games,
Yep.
and it makes this product worse. And what we're going to get sold on television and by the analysts is, oh, what are Arkansas is making a Cinderella run right now with their $5 million in NIL money
Yeah, it's a
that they
Cinderella.
spend to get players just because they underachieved all year.
Texas A&M Michigan's a perfect example. I would have been more interested watching that if it were Texas A&M versus Hofstra or Michigan versus Florida Gulf Coast. Texas A&M Michigan, I'm like, yeah, okay. If it's just going to be big boys, then just get rid of the little guys altogether right now and just make it the big boys.
And let's
and
run
just get rid of
7-game
it.
series like the NBA
Yes,
playoff, right?
that would be more interesting.
Yeah.
I would sit there and at least
Yeah.
say, okay, now we're going to see who the real winner is. It's not just, well, this team got hot at the right game. Yeah, I think it's disappointing. However, I will say this: it may be too early to say they didn't deserve all 14 because all 4 of your top seeds are still alive: Alabama, Tennessee,
Right.
Florida, Auburn. If you wind up with a Final Four of all Tennessee or of all SEC, then everyone's going to say they deserve the bids. It was the best league ever. It's like, well, the
Yeah, I still
top
think
is
the
really
top
good.
is,
The
yeah.
top
The
is
top is.
really good.
Yeah.
The bottom didn't deserve all those
They
bids.
absolutely deserve 10 minimum, though. Like, it was the best conference in college basketball, I think.
Well, again, we go back to what Ken Pomeroy said a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. We talked about on the show the fact that when you look at the Big 12 last year, they had some phenomenal record where they set the record for margin of victory in non-conference games, and then they went into the tournament.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much that carries over. What you're doing in November, it should count. Does it mean everything for when March rolls around? I don't know. All right.
No.
When we come back, we're going to get off basketball just for a second. We're going to talk football. We got Will Overstreet coming out here to talk about the Falls. Come on back. We're going to tell you reasons for optimism. That's right. We're going to turn him into Sunshine Willie. Come on back.